collections, classics, customs, restorations. This is Crossroads Speed Shop. Hey, welcome back to the Crossroads Diecast Speed Shop. I'm Skip, and on the bench today we have something a little bit different. Sometimes when I show my videos and stuff, I only focus on maybe one or two aspects of the customization that I kind of want to bring out or whatever. But I've also had a few of you making the comments about they'd like to see some more of the tips and some of the other things that I use. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some more of the tips, some tricks, and some basics. Not going to be able to show you everything because there's so many different things when it comes to either customizing die-cast cars or restoring them. But I will give you a few extra things so you can do those things as well. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to use this Dodge Charger. It is a Hot Wheels, and I believe it's a 67. Yep, it's a 67 Dodge Charger. And there's going to be some different things. There's some things I'm going to do on this customization that I don't always do. It's kind of a sweet looking car as it is. It came out, I think in the 2000 was the first edition of this one. In fact, this is a 2000. I've got several of them. They got the nice PR5 wheels and things, but we're going to take those off and put some other wheels on it. But the first thing, of course, when it comes to doing a car is you need to separate the chassis from the body. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do here. Usually I use these little bits. This is I believe this is a 560, let me check this out. It's a 5/64th bit. This one is a 1/16th. 1/16th bit is used mostly for when you do the older red lines because they have a smaller post. But the 5/64th bit is the one that you usually start out with. And then usually to take off the bigger part of the tab here, this part of the tab, I use this 11/64th to get that off. So what we're going to do, but before I even do that, what I usually use is some type of oil to put into the post. And the reason I do that is because it saves you a bit. You don't lose the sharpness. It stays sharper and stuff. You can use anything. You can use sewing machine oil, 3-in-1 oil. I've even used olive oil some. But Paul at Diecast Graveyard, he sent me some of this tapping fluid that he has on his website. And this has been really good. You don't use very much of it, so it's going to last you a long time. But what I like about it, too, is it comes already with its own little dropper, and you just put all you have to do is put like a little drop in each of those things, those little divots, and then you'll be ready to drill. Like I said, I'm going to start out. I always start out with the 5/64th bit. You can put it right in those little divots right there. And I usually only go for about 5 seconds to start with on each of those. And then from there, I go to the 11/64th bit. I put those in there. Now the older redline cars, they don't come with that divot. I usually have to use a punch. I have a pneumatic punch, and I'll have to show you that when I do a redline car or something, but not on this one. Let's see how that is. Not quite. It's better to take and go slow and do a little bit, because if you don't, you're going to end up drilling right through your chassis here, and then what happens is you end up with a mess. you end up basically having to figure out how you're going to make a bigger screw, maybe having to get washers or something along that line. But there you go. So that drop that right off like that. We'll take care of that in a little bit. We'll take care of the interior and stuff. We'll look at that in a little bit. But now what I'll do is I will finish drilling into that. Okay. I use these button head screws for your mainline cars like you get today on this that are on the pegs and stuff. I use the 256 screws. If you were doing a red line, an older red line, or even an older black wall, the 1/72 screws are the ones you should use. And you should, like I say, you should use the 1/16. So I've got here some of these little button head screws. And I like using those because they make the car look a little bit more original or whatever on the bottom. They don't have that like the Phillips head or whatever like that. And usually most of these are self-tapping, so that works out really well to do that. So put those in there. Another little hint that I give you, I didn't use today, but I have used in the past, is put a little bit of wax on the tip of your screwdriver and put it into the bit, especially if you're using these screws, and it tends to work. There's a little bit of a gap there, so I'm going to drill just a little bit further in there. You want to be careful because you don't want to drill down into your trunk lid, because that'll be a whole lot of mess, especially if you're trying to do a color change, or you're trying to use something like a Spectra flame or Restripping, or Paul Diecast Graveyard Spectra flame. Okay, so you can see I've got those all in there. Now, one of the things I want to do with this car is I want to keep the silver metallic. I want to use that. I want to use it as a base coat because I'm going to use a candy color on it. So the next thing that I do to do that, I have to get these decals off of here. So what I do is I take one of these dry erase pens and I just go over the areas where that is. Just go back and forth like that. And then I take a minute to wipe it off. Sometimes it won't come right off because the clear coat's pretty good on some of these cars. So it may take a few times. But anyway, that's what I do as I try that. Another thing you can try using a little bit of nail polish remover. You want to use something that's very mild, though, because if you use something too strong, so you can see right now here, right there, that the dodge is really going away. It doesn't take too long. That's another neat hit to use if you have a car, maybe a mainline car, but they've got some type of livery that you don't particularly care for. You like the livery, you like the car, and you like the paint job, but you just don't care much for the livery. So I'm going to stop right here and get the rest of this taken off. And again, like I said, you may have to do this 2 or 3 times, and then we'll come back. Some builds that are coming up in the shop. First, on November 30th, we have the 4 Horsemen RV build, followed by the Diecast International Builders Station Wagon Invitational, and then they also have the Diecast International Builders have their holiday theme build. And then on the 23rd, not the 31st, we have the Santa Claus 4 Horsemen build. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Okay, we're back, and we're going to do a little bit of working on the base here. When you want to make a wheel swap, sometimes these are fine. You can be happy with those. That's fine. But I want to make a wheel swap on. I want to try to use some of these nice 5-spokes that I got from Sam Ed Wheels. So to do that, you might need some of these sprue cutters. And usually what I do is I usually take and go for that little tab, that one single tab, because sometimes it's helpful to have the other 2 tabs there. That helps a lot. And then you can usually just pop these right out like that. So is that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take and put your new wheels in. These wheel sets are Sam Ed wheels, so they're a little bit longer than the ones that you get in a Hot Wheels car. You may want to take a little screwdriver and just pry those back just a tad, just to make it so you can get the wheels in. We'll set in. I've shown you a lot of times on my other builds how I do this. What I'm just going to do though here is I'll show you how to shorten. I've shown you how to shorten up the axles a little bit. Basically, I want to just if you're doing that, sometimes because there's a small space, or because the axle is a little loose, you might need to put the interior back in when you're just trying to do a test fit to see how those wheels go. Looks like these wheels will look really nice. They go really nice, and I think those will work out really well. So we'll move on. Okay, now I've got my wheels set. So one of the things I do is I take a little gob of super glue and I put it right where the tabs used to be. The super glue gel works probably the best if you can get it. Sometimes you can't, but either way, I also use some of this Instaset because if you use the liquid, sometimes what happens is the capillary action will cause it to roll down the axle, and then it'll lock up your tires once they dry. So and I like to use just a little dropper of that on there, because that's all you really need is just a little dropper on that. Some guys just use a spray top, but I found that it'll last a lot longer if you use that Instaset. This is something you can get right on Amazon, so it's a pretty easy thing. And again, like I say, you can use the super glue gel. If you don't want to, if you just have just the regular, that's fine. But just the biggest thing is to make sure you put the Instaset on it as quick as possible so that it sets up and you don't run into any problems with that. So let's move on. Okay, well, I'm back, and I've got the body all ready prepped for paint. Basically what I did is I took a little scouring wheel on my Dremel tool, and I just knocked down real light. Don't go too heavy. I just knocked down real light to get some of the gloss clear coat off it. There's still a little bit there, but I think it'll be all right. I just wanted to get it down a little bit. I didn't want to go too hard because then I'd be taking off the paint, and I want that silver base coat. For mixing up the paint, what I did is I took one of these little medicine cups and I mixed again, when you're doing the Candy 2.0, it's a dye. So instead of doing 4 or 5 parts paint to 1 part gloss, what you really need to do is do like a 50-50 mix. And I use a high gloss, UVLS high gloss, to do that. I just like the way that comes out. And then I probably did about 4 parts of the blood red to this marine blue. I used a mix. I wanted to kind of have a little bit more of a darker, almost a dark cherry type of a color than I wanted to have just a red. I didn't really want the red. I wanted to have it a little bit darker. So I'm going to see how, and again, it looks like it's kind of come out to that. So you can see kind of the darker red here, and I'm hoping that'll just give it a little bit darker red on that. I think it'll look up really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in the paint booth, lay some paint on it. Well, we're back, and my little, I guess you want to call it my little experiment with trying to paint over the metallic silver didn't work. I don't know, maybe I didn't get enough of the clear coat off, and that's why the paint kind of ran. Even with light, I tried doing several mist coats, trying to get them to line up and lay down, but it still ended up with just a heavy coat on there. So again, so what I finally did, I ended up putting it back in the stripper. Sometimes you have to do that. And I remember when I first started out, I was stripping cars 2, 3, 4 times even to get my paint to lay down, you know. So anyways, what I've done is I've cleaned it up, stripped it, cleaned it up, degreased it. Also to shine up the metal, I used one of these little Scotch-Brite wheels to shine it up and show you the difference. Here's another car that I'm working on too. And you can see the difference between the 2 cars. You know, this one's definitely shined up a lot more. That helps a little bit. I'm going to try something a little bit different paint scheme on this one. And another thing, just to show you, because I started noticing as I started looking at this, that there's a lot of flashing stuff. There's a lot of flashing areas, like right here. I don't know if you can see that very good. There was some flashing there. There's a little bit of flashing stuff right here. So, I'm sorry about hitting the camera there. So we got that. I also see that there's also some casting lines here. I don't remember seeing this ever on any Dodge Charger. So there's a casting line here. I'm going to take care of that, and we'll get some paint, and we'll get back to you. One thing I like to do when I'm painting the stuff, before I put it on the car, I usually like to take a spoon like this, and I like to lay down some paint just to see how it's going to look. You can see how that is. If I wanted to do that, then I can put it on the car. That's just another tip.
Later.
Well, welcome back. We finally got this 67 Dodge Charger all put together, assembled. I decided not to do the pre-assembly because this video is getting kind of long as it is. Again, did this nice custom paint mix between some Candy 2.0 blood red and some Candy 2.0 marine blue to make kind of a black cherry. Really, it's really dark. It came out really dark. It came out nice. I detailed the back taillights on this, as well as added these 5-spoke salmon wheels. Those are all 10mm ones. And then I took and painted the front grille with some flat black paint. I also took some tan boot for the interior to cover up that red and stuff, because I thought that would be too much red with the red. It's really nice. I don't know if the pictures really or the video is doing a good justice. It's kind of just like the candy red and the reddish and the cherry looking like that. It's kind of good, and I think I might try to use that again. And then of course I put 2 coats of Diecast Graveyards 2K clear over the top of it. Again, the 67 Dodge Charger, that was kind of a mid-sized 2-door car. Back in the day when the pony cars were coming, people were really getting into the pony cars, and it was a little bit bigger. It was built on a Dodge Coronet chassis, but it had a fastback roof, and the interior was kind of neat. Wish I had showed that to you, but it has 4 bucket seats. That's the way it was, and they made the fold down so they could actually put more in there through the trunk. That was kind of a neat idea. And they had a lot of engine options as well. They had the base 318 V8. It went up to the 440 V8, and then even a 426 Hemi. It was also that year that they introduced the RT package, and so that was kind of a neat idea to learn about that as well. I didn't know that. I always thought the RT came out in the 68, but it's actually in the 67. So I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you did too. Again, to all my viewers and subscribers, I want to thank you. God bless. And thanks for stopping by the shop.